On another demon-slaying escapade, our hero finds themselves in a strange land. The sun rises, bleaching the sickly green sky. Fronds sway in the wind over bubbling purple rivers. It would almost seem peaceful if it weren't for the screaming skeletons. This is the story of Pagodia. Say no more. Pagodia is further summarized as a vanilla-compatible episode for Doom 2 featuring varied Japan-inspired settings. The WAD is split into 3 distinct episodes: Village, Techno Shrine, and Cyberpunk City. Each episode contains 3 maps, numbering 9 in total, plus an extra thank you map as number 10. Let's dive in. Map 1, Lean Machine by Eggboy. The Mega Man MIDI kicks the introductory map into gear and spins you into the action. The tone is firmly set in this first taste of Pagodia. Purple and green dominate the palette. The difficulty bar is set via the Archvile ambush in the sunken pond, and a playful green Diet Cyber comes to say hi. This glass cannon will be appearing in every map except for Concrete Swan Dive. Revel in how easily this minty bastard dies. At the end, a cracker demon is introduced and hopefully swiftly dispatched. The author Eggboy has this to say about the map. Lean Machine was the second map made for Pagodia, and was intended to introduce the player to the wacky setting as well as the green cyber demon. Though it may not seem it, my main influence was the inmost dens. With platforms raised around structures, the player can enter the moats that lead to optional gameplay opportunities. I wanted to make a map that could play like a run-of-the-mill map 1, but offered more to players looking for it. Map 2, Tozan by T-Will. Woof. The second map in and we're served up a big boy. A few cheeky secrets hiding much needed weaponry and power-ups show you that Pagodia is not pulling its punches. The battle with 2 archies and a Diet Cyber on the patio dunks you under the water, pulls you up for one shuddering breath, and pushes you back in again. Thank God I wussed out and had a well-placed save. The aesthetics are carefully followed and pushed even further in map 2. The use of the exquisite Torii gates really are the proverbial cherry on the top of an already beautifully decorated, deadly cupcake. T-Will shares this in the README. This map was a challenge. I wanted to redeem my last effort from Mayan Reynolds, and I also wanted to push myself and my abilities. The biggest inspiration was 8079's map for Mayan Reynolds. The map was captivating and fun, so I wanted to try something similar. The first draft was pretty abysmal, particularly in the outdoor areas and the huge building with the pool and the pillars. To be honest, I thought the map would become garbage and become another personal failure on a project. Bobby and Eggboy were of tremendous help, and I can't thank them enough for the advice and techniques they taught me to make the map a success. As for the map itself, the final room was supposed to have more Torii gates as an homage to the Fushimi Inari Taishi in Kyoto. It was one of my favourite parts of visiting Japan, but the homage made Vanilla cry, so the amount of gates had to be reduced. Also, I decided to utilize the keen die of the green cyber demons to reward the player for getting 100% kills. And there's another surprise in that hidden room, if you dare to find it. Map 3, Triple Impact by Bobby, Eggboy, and Zemistic. The final map of the Village episode is throbbing with an oppressive air of danger. From the beginning fight to the subterranean cave battle to the naughty blue key ambush at the end, Map 3 is an absolute beast. Yes, you can clearly see the fingerprints of 3 distinct mappers in the different areas, but the fact that the disparate parts come together to form a cohesive whole is mind-blowing. This shows serious talent and a strong willingness to compromise. Bobby says, "The first real collab of any of the Squonker WADs. There was a lot of shenanigans, gaffes, goofery, and ridiculous ideas that went into this map, but trying to tie together the map with the others was actually daunting at first. It seemed that we spent our best efforts on making the most straight line imaginable, but with Eggboy's inclusion of areas to the right and left of my cave start, plus the RL area, things looked to get more interesting. The first half of the cave area before the drop down into the RL fight was my part, with some touch-ups on Eggboy's behalf when he fixed things up. I placed the start, caves, from the first drop to the last, and the top red key area, not without Eggboy fixing my busted 4 in the morning monster closet though. I did the OOB area in the cave section at Eggboy's request. Was fun. Eggboy wrote, "Some of the most fun I've had making a map." There are actually 2 versions of this map. The only thing that stayed the same was the starting arena you teleport into that I built. In the new version, I mainly built that starting arena, the huge slaughter cave in the southwest of the map, the blue key encounter, and the connector before the exit room. I also put a lot of effort into interconnecting the layout. Though my favourite piece of interconnectivity has to be the starting teleporter, which lowers later in the map to take you back to the surface from the caves. Can't claim that idea though, I implemented it. Bobby came up with that mysterious progression. And Zemistic said, I had the first rotation after Eggboy's original starting room. I started forming where the player would go in order to connect the map, but I didn't start my big major area until the second run through, where I made the red key area. I also made the exit area, which had undergone a few iterations. Originally I wanted an invisible staircase up to a small house, but eventually got inspired by dojo designs and then made the Daikatana dog dojo. I wasn't there for the thing placing run, so the majority of the combat encounters I had little part in, but I enjoyed placing my architecture. Map 4. Grimy Waifu by Eggboy. Bite-sized and bitchin', this Wii map is one of my favourites in the entire WAD. It sets up the Techno Shrine chapter with a further progression on the theme of green and purple. We now see examples of Doom Cute via careful texture usage, and the first sighting of the luminous Mountain Doom dispensing machine. Though the map is small, the flow-through is masterful. Platforms lower to unblock previously inaccessible areas as the fights escalate and more demons appear, baying for your blood. The traffic cones at the start subtly tell you that the village is well behind you. The evils of the Techno Shrine await. Eggboy had this to say. I started this map with low morale, but I like the end result. The title comes from the JPEG Mafia song of the same name, but didn't become a factor until about halfway through making it. Ultimately, I ended up with a micro map that features an open layout and Doom Cute. Map 5, Spaghetti Complex by T-Will. This and the Grimy Waifu are 2 brothers from other mothers in my mind. Short and brutal, open, yet you need to fight for every bit of elbow room when the Hellspawn come knocking. The Berserk vending machine secret was a lovely touch. This little touch adds immeasurably to the believability of Pagodia, something that is often overlooked in WADs. This is a real world. Sure, it's a world where vending machines give you a steroid injection, but it's real nonetheless. T-Will had this to say. After the big map of Tozan, I wanted to show I could make a small, fun map. The other thing I wanted to do was interconnectedness, as all my other endeavors have been pretty segmented and linear. While I knew the core of the map, making it was a different story. I would start with the open area, hate it, or have no idea where to go, nuke the map, and restart. This happened about 8 times, at which point I just went fuck it and just bullshitted. I ended up taking inspiration from deathmatch maps. The end result is actually one of my best maps so far. There are many ways you can take on the map, and there are some shortcuts if you know where to look. Also, if you're a speedrunner reading this, try to get a UV speed time below 50 seconds. Winky face. Map 6. Nogi Sumire by Aurelius. The 2 delightful small beans that came before further increase the imposing size of Map 6 by comparison. Kicking off with a jingling Rubik's MIDI, shit's gotten real. A Frankenstein's monster of disparate ideas, Aurelius apparently sewed everything up in 14 days. 14 days! Except for the straight key-hunting spine running through the level, the paths by which you reach your objective are very much up to you. Do you seek out secrets first or brute force your way to the red key? The blue key fight with the WAD's first full-strength cyber was hair-raising and tantalizing. You know, when you eat a really spicy chili and your senses sharpen, colors are brighter, things seem to be unrealistically in focus, and you're hyper-aware of your body, your heartbeat. That's how this fight made me feel. I would put my hand up and say that's one of the primary directives of Doom maps. Maximum sensory reaction via a very simple medium. It makes you feel alive. This is my favorite map of the WAD, and it's not hard to see why. Aurelius wrote, "There's probably 3 maps worth of scraps that came into existence while making this. I made visually decent areas, but I was never quite happy with the progression and or encounters in them, so I kept at it until something serviceable came along. The build time for this final iteration was 14 days, with a couple more days for fixes and tweaks. I drew inspiration from Mechadon's stuff, using architecture and textures in careful unison to make something that looks more three-dimensional than it actually is. This was tricky to do with vanilla constraints, but by limiting sightlines and simplifying the layout, I was able to pull it off in a decent manner. Gameplay is pretty tight, but not quite as difficult as my other recent maps. The playable space is cramped and can easily be overrun with enemies if the player is not quick to cleave some space for themselves. Ammo rationing is recommended, especially on higher difficulties. This time around, I experimented with more functional secrets that, if found, will help take the edge off of some encounters. Also for speedrunners, there's a way to skip the final fight entirely for a quicker exit. Your murder blood journey quest has led you through villages and techno shrines alike. Everywhere you go, tactless cultural appropriation. You know it's all wallpaper, set dressing for the role you were born to play. You grin and pick up your big gun. Time to shoot a guy. Excellent, excellent. That is an awesome intermission screen between 6 and 7. Great. Map 7. Concrete Swan Dive by Zemistic. Don't lean on me, man, cause you can't afford the ticket. I'm back on Cyberpunk City. We are well and truly in the dark heart of a corrupted city. Torn and stained posters litter the lilac walls, and an overwhelming sense of post-industrial ennui lies heavily here. Something has clearly gone wrong in this city, and we're here to clean up. Zemistic does a masterful job of conjuring up a pocket rocket of a map with an ending that will leave you with an asshole like a clown's pocket. Brilliant stuff. Zemistic says, "This was the first map made for Pagodia. With the textures that Eggboy provided, I made some construction areas or whatever. However, it ended up looking like Moonlit District, but black and green. I didn't want this, so I tried my best to spice it up with the katana and the glowing lights." The name was borrowed from the Thank You Scientist song. You also end the map by performing a concrete swan dive yourself, which I painted the floor under with some Doomguy corpses. Ka-chow! Map 8. Tiny Tokyo by Skronkadonk. A collection of spicy, gated arenas, this map, while far from easy, gives you the space and time to outmaneuver the demonic hordes who want to skin you and turn you into a handbag. Duck, dive, dodge, and weave through the baddies and let them beat each other up. The verticality and closeness of the ominous concrete tower blocks feels very real. You can practically smell the pissy alleyways and bulging bags of garbage left to rot at the feet of dumpsters. The silhouetting of the buildings against the verdant sky is a gorgeous touch, and does wonders for the threatening mood of the dead city. Skronkadonk wrote, "A map that took a few weeks to make, not because of the map itself, but because of the ideas in my head. I've made at least 5 maps in total and scrapped them because none of them seemed right. This map basically took around 4 hours to make in total, and I'm actually satisfied on how it came out. This isn't the best map I made because city maps aren't really my thing, but this one was fun to make. I honestly don't think the map is all that great, but if it wasn't for the textures and the MIDI, the map really wouldn't be good. An idea that's been through all the scrap maps and made it to the finished version is this small little park area surrounded by apartment buildings on each side. Another idea was this river/moat thing in the middle of the city. I wanted the player to walk across it, but I felt like VPOs and DSOs would be a huge problem. An idea I'm sad I didn't do because of the vanilla limitations was a highway, like the one in 3000 AD from Scythe. This map was fun to make, but I feel like I could have done better. Map 9. Mass Production by Juza. This final offering from the team is a master stroke, a threatening citadel of iron and concrete, skirted by seething green rivers and a sea of blood slowly dissolving crumbling apartments where folks used to live before the bad times. What a glorious crescendo. I sensed elements of Back to Saturn X Part 1 and also felt some callbacks to Duke 3D just due to the reality of the place. That's a thing that runs through this WAD, the reality of the situations presented to us. There may be an undercurrent of tongue-in-cheek humour with the anime Easter eggs and quirky signage, but Pagodia is a world I want to save, from its delicate shrines to its depopulated city. I'm sure I'm reading too much into this, but this is what this WAD has elicited in me. So strong is its aesthetic and visual storytelling. The secrets in this map are all very worthwhile, no BS, and certainly make your job of washing away the demon's stain a hell of a lot easier. The final fight with the red cybers and a graveyard's worth of rev heads is guaranteed to tingle even the most jaded of Doom players. It's not colossally difficult, instead it's achievably challenging, giving a great sense of accomplishment as you leave a crater of shattered bones and pneumatic legs amongst the blood-rimmed apartment buildings that bleed off into a dark void. Juza said, "Was in a rush to finish this one. I must have spent around 30 hours total on it. Like all my levels, Dark Souls is a big inspiration, but I think it is even more so in this one with the extreme interconnection and non-linearity. And about this is my first non-linear level? Two choices here. Blue key or yellow key first, with the main difference being where a specific green cyber will get teleported to at one point. I drew this layout a few months prior to actually opening the editor. Day after drawing it, I thought no good would come of it. As usual. A lot of things changed, many major progression changes were done late in its development, as usual. I'm satisfied with the results though. Keep an eye out for my turn with the funny anime Easter egg." To conclude, I'll sum up the WAD in a few sentences. Pagodia is a WAD very deserving of your attention and your time. This is AAA doomage that never overstays its welcome. This is something I didn't know I'd been looking for, and then by randomly searching Doomworld for its newest submissions, there it was. This will now sit amongst Valiant, Ancient Aliens, and Evernity as my favourite go-to WADs for when I feel like playing to relax. And that's not bad company to be in. Not bad company at all. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.
Eduardo and Friends.